Okay, so now we're going to concentrate on some points and some basic techniques for the back, neck and shoulder area. First of all, what you need to do is observe your client, your friend, your family member. And the first thing I can see as I'm looking at Maddie now is she needs to relax her arms. So you just encourage the arms to drop out because the person's not fully relaxed if the arms need to be just bent very slightly. Always, if you're massaging the back and the neck and the shoulder areas, you need the face to be straight. So if you're working at home, we're going to go on to that in a little while, you can roll up a small towel and make sure that the face is leaning into it, or the person, worst case scenario, can lean on their hands. But if the face is, the head's turned to one side or another, you can put more tension and stress into the neck and shoulders and tighten it up even more. So keeping the head straight is quite important. So what we're then going to do is we're just going to look at the back, just take a few minutes to observe. And here what we can see is Maddie's right shoulder is slightly higher than her left, so she's got more tension in this area here, which we're going to work on. And then she's got some tension here, you can see those muscle sets are slightly raised, and here. Okay, so straight away we know what we're going to be working on. As far as your oil is concerned, if you're working on back massage, you want to aim for having around about 20 mils of vegetable oil measured out. That will be more than sufficient, but that will cover most back sizes. And again, then the maximum amount of essential oil you're going to have diluted in there, if it's to 2.5% concentration, which is for most essential oils perfect for general massage on the body, then that would be a maximum of 5 drops of essential oil in 10 or 10 drops of essential oil in 20 mils. Okay, again, not using too much oil, and especially as we're going to be working on some pressure points, you really just want a very small amount of oil on there so you don't slip off. So we just make sure that that's covering there. Now, first of all, especially as we can see, and we were talking when we were doing the facial massage about the neck, there are some really wonderful points of tension store and acupressure just along the back of the neck here. And also there's a huge amount most of us hold on to with the trapezius. So rather than showing you specific points, I'm going to show you the areas to concentrate along so that you're going to hit the points anyway, but also if that person feeds back where it's most tender, those are the areas you concentrate on. Not deep pressure, but just gradual, can come back to it again, loosen it up a bit more, come back to it until that isn't tender any longer. That's what you're aiming for. And remember that less is more. I'm really a great believer in completely contradicting the no pain, no gain ethos. I think it's really inappropriate because these treatments ought to be pleasurable. And yes, use some depth, but build up that depth over time, warm up the muscles and spend time loosening up the muscle groups. Because I've seen people who've had sports massage and even a type of lymphatic drainage which leaves people bruised, and that's, I don't think, a very good idea at all, especially as the lymphatic system is very delicate and just under the surface of the skin. I'm a great exponent of the Voda technique for lymphatic drainage. So, first of all, with Maddie here, just this lovely loosening up of the neck muscles. Remember, you keep your own shoulders relaxed. You want to give yourself back problems. And then, in whatever way, whatever angle you can, loosen up these tension points, these pressure points at the back, particularly concentrating on the centre there, just under the occiput, which is a lovely tension gathering point and a really useful pressure point to release. Don't use too much pressure, but don't be so light that there's actually hardly any contact there. So just loosening all that up in there, nice and easily. Going back to loosening up the neck muscles again. Remember, the head is heavy and the neck works very hard. Then coming down to the top here of the trapezius muscles, the tops. Ooh, is that a bit tender in there?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can actually feel as soon as you hit tension, there's more resistance there. And also, like every now and then, like there for instance, my thumbs just go in. There's a perfect pressure point in there, beautifully demonstrated by the dip that you can actually feel under your thumbs. So you're loosening up those points, finding an area of muscle tension, coming back to it until you're loosening it up. So having loosened the whole thing up and gone into a few of those points, just go back with both your thumbs and just work on those areas until they start to just naturally begin to give and soften. And then go back to the points again and check. So is that releasing any? Is that feeling a little bit easier?
Yeah.
Good. Always good to have feedback. Never guess, ask, unless they've fallen asleep. And of course they'd soon wake up if it was very uncomfortable, I guess, and so you'd have the feedback there automatically. Now, the wonderful spine, you never ever put any pressure on the spine itself. That's very, very important. But these fantastically supportive muscles either side of the spine do need a bit of loosening up. And again, very often you get very good feedback. So one of the techniques I like to use as far as loosening up the back is concerned, and again it covers lots of different points either side of the spine, is just take your fingers and just caterpillar walk, using your other hand to give you a little bit more pressure. And that's tender just around here, or ticklish?
Ticklish.
Okay. So ticklish feelings are really useful indicators of tension. And it's always nice to have a tickly feeling rather than a sore, tender feeling. So when you hit an area like that, take the individual finger pressure off and just use your whole hand to loosen it. The other technique you can use here, and again it can be very useful for actual individual points as well as for the muscle group itself, is very gently using your elbow, but it gives a huge degree of pressure. If you put too much energy into that, then your client or your friend will be squealing. So just take it easy, less is more, just enough oil to have that sliding over the top. And then, as we know that this area here is one of the areas that was sore, just to use the pressure point there, just gently lean into the elbow very slightly and give that ticklish area as it was, so a little bit more pressure, and the same just above it. And then when you go back with your individual fingers or thumbs, so that's less ticklish now, is it?
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. So again, obviously we're speeding this process up because of the length of time. We've got to try and keep these videos nice and brief, but it gives you an idea of how you progress into those muscle groups using those points. Okay, so whenever you're talking about lower back pain or sciatic type pain going down the back of the leg, it's the gluteus muscles that are probably holding on to tension and beginning to pinch the sciatic nerve. And for most of us, we sit down too much, we go driving for long periods of time, we sit in one position for too long. And the motto of this story is don't get up as much as possible when you're sat at your desk. So what we're going to do is just work our way into these points deep in the gluteus muscles. And I'm going to ask Maddie to let me know when I hit a point that's sore. So if I come into here, is about there?
About there, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really excellent point. I seem to remember in Chinese medicine it's a point that gets blocked or sensitive when you get angry or frustrated, but certainly it often causes tension in that point, and it's very tender, but it's absolutely incredible if you carry on working with it. Now what I tend to do is just pull the muscle up towards me like this. And as you know, quite a deep technique, but it needs to be quite deep to actually get to that point and release it. And then what you do is this chopping method. Now, not this, but you've probably been shown in some of the other videos. Keep your wrists nice and loose. It just should be a very loose, light angle, so that you just stimulate the blood flow through those muscle fibres and get nice and deep down blood coming up to the surface. And then we're just going to check that point again. And that feels a bit easier. Is that less sensitive?
Yeah.
Good. Always nice when it works. And then when you've finished loosening in one side, you then just loosen off the lower back like this, particularly around that area there. And then you swap sides and you begin to work on the other side from the opposite side. Okay, I hope you find that technique useful.